In the next 60 seconds, this man will change his clothes, pick up a heavy bag, and walk through an airport like any other traveler. But something is wrong. Something he can't explain. He looks around nervously. Then suddenly, without hesitation, he does something completely out of the ordinary. Drops his bag, sprints away from security, and leaps over a barrier. Next thing we know, he's running full speed through the grass, disappears from sight, and is never seen again. We've all seen strange disappearances before, right? It's people who vanished, perhaps never to be seen again. Often those stories involve complex conspiracies or strange circumstances. But what makes this case different is that it was caught on camera. Not a grainy CCTV footage, but sharp, crisp surveillance footage. We can see every detail, every twitch, every blink. And this particular disappearance still hasn't been explained. It's one of the most disturbing mysteries of our time. This is the story of Lars Mittank. And if you want to hear more stories like this one, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us grow. So let's get started. Lars Mittank was a healthy 28-year-old German man, no mental illness, no criminal history, just an ordinary young guy looking for some sun. He arrived at Varna Airport in Bulgaria with a group of friends. He walked through customs like anyone else. Nothing stood out about his behavior. There were no red flags, no obvious signs of struggle, nothing out of the ordinary, except, of course, what happened next. As soon as Lars reached the airport lounge, something changed. He sat down, slowly took off his jacket, took a deep breath, and seemed to calm down. For a moment, everything appeared normal. But this calm didn't last long. As the others chatted, Lars remained silent. He stared blankly ahead, almost as if he were having a panic attack. One minute he was calm and collected, and the next he was panicking. Without a shred of clarity, he jumped from his seat and made a dash for the door, knocking over a chair in the process. Once outside, he stopped and fumbled with his belongings, dropping his water bottle in the process. All the while, he kept looking over his shoulder as if someone were pursuing him. But here's where things take a very dark turn. After a brief pause, Lars did something even stranger. He grabbed his bag, picked up the water bottle, and headed back to the terminal. As he approached the entrance, however, he hesitated. He looked left, then right, as if checking for something or someone. Then, in a split-second decision, he dropped his bag, bolted back toward the door, and disappeared into the bright sunshine. The entire sequence of events was recorded on high-definition surveillance cameras. It was a hot summer day. The sky was clear. It was prime vacation time. Yet Lars had suddenly panicked, dropped his stuff, and run away. Without knowing what caused this sudden outburst, the logical assumption was that Lars simply had a mental breakdown, perhaps a psychotic episode triggered by stress, heat exhaustion, who knows. Whatever the reason, the authorities found his abandoned bag and checked it thoroughly, hoping to find some clues. Inside the bag, they found 40 euros, a local SIM card, 2 pairs of sunglasses, and a half-empty bottle of water. They also found his travel documents and a crumpled receipt from the airport pharmacy. He'd bought painkillers and eardrops. That raised another question. What had he hurt himself? On July 2014, 5 days before his mysterious flight from Bangkok, Lars had been in a fight with a friend. During an argument over football, the friend had shoved Lars, injuring his right ear. Lars complained of a ruptured eardrum, and a doctor gave him medication, including antibiotics. Could the antibiotics have triggered a psychotic episode? Was that what caused his behavior at the airport? Well, Lars's mom didn't think so. She knew her son well. She knew he sometimes suffered from depression. But she was adamant that he wouldn't just abandon his passport and leave without telling anyone. And indeed, his friends had no idea where he'd gone either. They knew Lars had a doctor's appointment, so they assumed he was still at the clinic. When they learned otherwise, they became worried. A lot of questions, no answers. After waiting a bit, Lars's friends decided to visit the hospital themselves. As they stepped inside, they noticed a familiar face. It was Lars. He was sitting on a chair near the front desk, staring straight ahead. When he heard his friends calling his name, he turned around, a confused look on his face. But when his friends asked where he'd been, he replied vaguely, "I don't know." It was odd, but his friends assumed he was still under the influence of medication. So they suggested visiting the nearby beach. Perhaps some fresh air would do him good. Lars agreed, so they hailed a taxi and rode to the coast together. As they walked along the shore, Lars suddenly clutched his head and sank onto a nearby bench. I feel sick, he whispered, and tired. He closed his eyes for a moment, then added, "Can you take me back to the hotel?" Once they returned, Lars refused to eat. He paced the hallways, whispering to himself, refusing any company. His friends were starting to get worried now. Whatever was going on, it was clear Lars wasn't thinking clearly. His behavior was irrational, his words nonsensical. They tried to comfort him, tried to make him talk, but he just kept repeating, "Leave me alone. Please leave me alone." At midnight, Lars got out of bed, dressed in the clothes he had worn for the past 3 days, and left the hotel. His friends reported him missing to the police and spent the next few hours searching the area. But they couldn't find him anywhere. The following morning, Lars was still nowhere to be found. The friends decided to return home, but before leaving, they went to the airport to check his flight status. Much to their surprise, Lars had indeed boarded a plane. But there was a catch. He'd flown one way only. He'd booked a ticket from Bulgaria to Frankfurt, Germany, but he'd never arrived at his destination. He'd simply vanished without a trace. How can a person board a plane, check in successfully, and then disappear? That's exactly what the authorities wanted to know. They searched his hotel room and found something unusual: 2 receipts from the airport shop. He'd bought 2 bottles of rum and taken them back to his room. Then what? Did he drink both bottles? Why? Was that his intention all along? There was no forced entry. No valuables had been stolen, and there was no sign of struggle. The only indication that Lars had ever been there was the rum and the clothes he'd left behind. The police suspected foul play, but the family insisted Lars would never put up a fight. If he had been robbed, they concluded that maybe Lars had somehow gotten mixed up in something shady, like a drug deal or smuggling operation. But they had no proof. All they had was the footage from the airport. On July 8, 2014, Lars visited the airport clinic again. This time the doctor cleared him for flight, but not before scolding him for drinking too much alcohol. The doctor noted Lars's somewhat irrational behavior and his bizarre request to keep his medical records confidential. But besides that, there was nothing to indicate that he might be a danger to himself or others. With medical clearance in hand, Lars once again walked through the airport. This time, though, he was a changed man. He was calm and quiet, almost robotic. He approached the check-in counter, handed over his documents, and received his boarding pass. Moments later, he made his way through the security gate and joined the line for the lounge. Surveillance footage shows him calmly taking off his shoes and placing them in the bin, along with his heavy jacket. He moves to the next checkpoint, then hesitates slightly, as if listening intently to something. He turns slowly and looks over his shoulder, but it's hard to tell what he's looking for. After a couple of seconds, he resumes walking and enters the airport lounge. He takes his seat and removes his sunglasses. Again, he's seen looking left and right, as if expecting someone or something. Then he reaches for his bag and takes out a white t-shirt. He changes into it and places the old one back in his bag. He readjusts his backpack and stands up. A minute passes and Lars bolts upright from his seat. Without a word, he grabs his bag and races out of the lounge. He's seen pushing a cart filled with empty plastic cups, almost tripping in the process. Once outside, he walks purposefully toward the terminal. He stops to tie his shoe, then starts walking quickly. He approaches the glass doors leading to the outside. Just as he reaches for the handle, he pauses and looks back. It's as if he's unsure whether to go through the door or not. But after a few seconds, he opens it and steps into the sunlight. That was the last time Lars Mittank was seen alive. Now here's what's interesting about this case. The footage doesn't show any immediate struggle or fear. It doesn't show any pursuers. The police believe whatever event occurred in those final 30 seconds. But what exactly happened to Lars Mittank? Was he kidnapped? Did he suffer a psychotic break? Or was he meeting someone at the prearranged spot outside the airport? Unfortunately, the surveillance footage doesn't shed any light on his behavior. There are no clues. There are no witnesses. All we have are theories and speculation. The most popular theory is that Lars saw something he wasn't supposed to. Maybe a drug deal, money laundering, black market arms trading, who knows? Maybe a witness to a crime. Maybe he stumbled upon a secret, a conspiracy, a threat. Whatever the reason, someone silenced him. But if that's true, why leave the passport behind? Why make it look like a voluntary disappearance? Well, maybe it was a staged disappearance. Maybe it was part of the plan. Maybe Lars was never in danger at all. Maybe he just wanted to disappear. It's a compelling theory, but it leaves many questions unanswered.
Yes.
Like, where is he now? What is he doing? Did he ever reveal his whereabouts? And if not, why not? You see, Lars's disappearance generated a massive online response. Thousands of people discussed his behavior. Internet sleuths created timelines and combed through every piece of footage frame by frame. Despite all that, there's still no solid evidence or leads. What we do know is that Lars's mother still searches for her son. She firmly believes he's out there somewhere. But as the years pass, the chances of finding him become increasingly slim. If you have any information about this case, please contact the Bulgarian police. Thank you for watching.